Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time to start the Traffic and Parking Commission. Before we get started, though, I want to thank everyone for being here with us today. I'd like to introduce some new people that some of them's first time I've met. Commissioner over here on the end, Santy, raise your hand up. Also, Brandon over here, glad to have you. Got a new member from the Metro Council over here, Angie Henderson. Also, see Councilman Withers out there, maybe some more out there, but we appreciate all of you being here. And also, we have a lady representing the mayor's office for transportation. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, Faye, but I appreciate you being here anyway. All right. Excuse me. If you're not satisfied with the decisions made by the Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filling or a writ of circuit, I never can say that, with the decision with the Davidson County Chancellor of Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Commissioner's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure your appeal to filled in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Approval of today's agenda.
Move to approve.
Have a first. Second. All in favor say aye. Approval of the minutes from the meeting September the 13th, 2021.
Move to approve.
First. Second. All in favor say aye. All right. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Anyone have anything to remove? All right. All right, consent agenda, Resolution 2110, mandatory referral for 2021 M013 AB 001, a request for the abandonment of portion of alley number 371, approving the acquisition of an interest in a certain real property and improvements hereto comprising a new alley and grading of an easement above that new alley in connection with the development of a project in Nashville, Tennessee, requested by Jack C. Welder, Council District 19. B, mandatory 2021 M 015 AB 001, a request to abandon a right-of-way along the portion of Alley 1883 from Foster Avenue eastward to Foster Court, located between Windsor Avenue and Foster Avenue. Utility easements to be retained, request by the Comfort Group, Council District 16. C, mandatory referral of 2021 M016 AB 001, a request for the abandonment of the right-of-way along alley number 1090 from Haney Avenue northeastern to the dead and between 309 80 Avenue and 27289 Brick Church Pike, requested by the Crunk Engineering, LLC, Council District 2. Authorized parking on the south side of Greenwood Avenue from Galton Avenue to Chapel Avenue, requested by Council Member Withers. Councilman, would you like to say anything on this? All right, come forward. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Commissioners, for hearing this, and really appreciate working with staff on this, which I hope will be a solution. Greenwood Avenue is a collector street that runs between Galton Avenue and across a few other collectors, including Porter Road, and more or less terminates at Riverside Drive. And as such, this was part of the original plat of this area in 1855, was always designated to be a street that was kind of a thoroughfare going back to 1855, as I mentioned. However, with some of these streets that were platted in 1855, the widths of the streets and the right-of-way was not necessarily designed for a lot of vehicular traffic. So we've struggled with this street for a little bit because it is almost exclusively residential, except at the commercial corner nodes. And so for whatever reason, parking has not been allowed from Gallatin all the way almost up to Porter Road. Then you get to that one block of Porter Road by what we all used to call the Family Wash, and it's allowed on both sides of the street. Now, for the part that's next to Family Wash, what I will say is that as much as people complain about it, having cars parked on both sides of the street does limit the street to only one car can get through, and that is the best traffic calming you can get. However, it's not really feasible to do that for the whole street, especially with it being a collector right. So what I think we've come up with is a good compromise. We're at least going to try it on these couple of blocks for right now, is to allow parking on the south side of the street. One of the reasons that I have recommended the south side to neighbors, we've been talking about this for a while, is that some of those properties on the south side lack alley access. And so if anyone has a claim to need access to on-street parking, it would tend to be those homeowners on the south side of the street. And what you tend to see is that even though it's illegal, a lot of the parking that does pop up on the street is on that south side. So one of the things I'm hoping that we can do is to at least use this portion of the street as an experiment to allow parking in a formalized way, hopefully without having it be randomly placed, which is the way it occurs today. And one of the things we talked about with staff is to see how that works, and if that does work, to sort of move the double yellow line on the street over a little bit so that cars know that, you know, the travel lanes are on the north side of the street. And what that would affect is to utilize this parking on one side of the street, and it would effectively create a little bit of a road diet, at least for this portion of Greenwood. And we'll see how that goes. And if that goes pretty well, I might come back before y'all to see about continuing that for the rest of the street. But just wanted to give a little bit of that background to y'all about why we're wanting to allow parking, at least in this area. And unfortunately, the Eastwood neighborhood, which is my own neighborhood, is one of those that has not been meeting terribly regularly right now during COVID and all that. So I appreciate you just giving me a couple minutes in this venue to give a little of that explanation about it, because it's a little bit difficult to have in-person meetings for the Eastwood neighborhood today. But with that, I again want to thank the staff for working with us on at least this solution, which we hope will work. I think it will make things better, and we'll continue working at it with your support. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Authorized stop control. This is E. Authorized stop control. Authorized stop control on Woodland Star Way at the intersection with Vista Lane, requested by Councilmember Toombs. Is Councilmember Toombs here? Okay. All right, F. Parking restrictions. Authorize no parking on the south side of Pearl Street from Spruce Street to Joe Johnson Avenue from 7:15 to 8:15 a.m., 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. on school days, requested by Head Middle Magnet School, Metro Nashville Police Department, Council District 21. All right, G, parking restrictions. Authorize no parking on the east side of Joe Johnson Avenue from Pearl Street to 475 feet north of Pearl Street from 7:15 to 8:15 a.m., 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. on school days, requested by head member Magnet School and Metro Nashville Police Department. H, loading zone, authorize a 150-foot loading zone on the north side of Clinton Street, 125 feet east of 16th Avenue North from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, requested by Nelson Greenbrier Distributor, Council District 19. Commissioners?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman, about point number 8. H, I'm sorry.
H, okay.
To Derek, what does staff think about, here's your analysis, are you all recommending this? Number H?
Yes, we are recommending approval for item H. That location is in between their two roll-up doors and is where a lot of loading activity is currently taking place. They do not have a rear entrance to the building for such activities.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone else? Yes, sir.
I have
Go
a
ahead,
question
Brandon.
on letter D, the one Councilman Withers just spoke about. First of all, thank you for working with that. I take my daughter to school on that street, so it is kind of a zigzag getting down through there. How long are y'all looking to, you said it was kind of an experiment, how long are y'all looking to kind of observe and then make a decision for the rest of the street?
I think that's kind of is up to staff. I mean, but I would, like you say, we do have school zones in there, and this portion of Greenwood doesn't actually include the schools. Although, if you know what is today the old Bailey campus, which is today Nashville Classical, it's a little bit further down, but it kind of has a little bit of a similar issue with overflow parking on the street. I don't have a set time in mind unless staff do, but wanted to bring it before the commission, at least try it, and maybe come back in the spring or something like that, and see how that works. Since after we've had a little bit more of a full school year, a couple seasons to get through.
And from the staff perspective, I just want to say this is a fairly unique case. Most streets of this width, we do not restrict parking on both sides. Going back through our records, this commission actually placed the restriction back in 1973. We weren't able to find any backing documentation as to why, but the step that we're taking now will really bring this in line with the parking restrictions we see on streets of similar characteristics.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? All right. That completes thank you, Councilman. That completes the consent agenda. All in favor? All opposed? None. Thank you. Deferred business. Parking meter removal, authorized to removal of 5 parking meters on the north side of Chet Atkins Place at 19th Avenue South. Requested by, what is that? Horde Construction, Council District 19. Anyone have any questions?
Is this
Sarah Lee?
Is this a permanent removal?
Correct. This is a permanent removal. As some of you may remember, this was before us last time. Our development services was still working through what the final, what the final plan for this location is. That's been finalized. Those parking meters will be removed and a turning lane will be installed there.
That good? Anyone else? Yes.
My question was the same. Was it temporary for purposes of construction? I guess from a staff analysis standpoint, when we do remove parking meters, I just wanted to ask about the broader context. I mean, I would say here you've made a trade-off, right? Like you determined there's going to be enough car capacity that you're going to need the turn lane. So I appreciate that and understand that. But separate from that, can you just sort of speak to the larger context of on-street metered parking in this area?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And, well, sorry, that's someone from our development services team here, but happy to handle it. Yeah, so each site that comes before us, especially those that are rezoned, we have, if the volumes are high enough, it triggers a traffic impact study. These studies are used to look at the impacts on the street and really, what we expect the traffic impacts of these new developments to be. Now, most of these studies are conducted years in advance before we get to the actual construction. So don't have the exact year on this one, but it was done 3 or 4 years ago. So we do hope to refresh these as time goes on, which is what caused the one delay last meeting. So what staff was looking at here is really, do we need this turn lane? We know we talked about a few years ago, do we really want to give up the parking meters for it? Further investigation resulted in our team saying, yes, we do need these turn lanes, and I apologize, I do not have the numbers in front of me here, but we do have those impact studies available, and that giving up the parking is a preferred alternative. This area, we do have metered parking, kind of, I don't want to say randomly spread, but in certain parts throughout the area. Enforcement gets out here occasionally. Our fees are the fees that are collected out here are a little lower than some of our more dense areas, so we don't see the revenue impact as being too high, losing those 5 meters.
May I ask a follow-up question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So, I know there's been some conversation, especially on kind of the council side, about traffic impact studies and updating that, or just our process there. To what extent, I don't know what's going here. I would assume it's a large building with a parking garage in it, correct? And so I guess my question comes from a design standpoint. To what extent are we requiring through our code, if we anticipate stacking, right? Like you're kind of trying to come into this garage, ostensibly we need the turn lane because we assume there'll be some backup at peak time when people go into the garage. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll have to refer these questions to our development services team, but I can get you an answer tomorrow on that.
Okay, I guess I'm always kind of trying to figure out how to strike the balance between giving up a public asset and that potential revenue. I appreciate you contextualize that more broadly, but also, what onus is on the development to design in ample space at peak time to stack into the garage? So I think if you operate from the assumption that we're going to build to this capacity and we'll just work it out in the public right away, I'd like to see us making that requirement land more with the development. If they're building a garage of a certain size, like they got to deal with that internal to their garage, respectfully. So, I appreciate staff's analysis of this. I know I'm a little late to the game on that, but, I guess I'm wondering, from your perspective, to what extent are we wanting development to, take on that burden internal to their footprint rather than we as a city taking on the burden?
Yeah, and not working in development services, I don't know if I can answer that question for you today, but what I can suggest is that next meeting or a future meeting, we have a presentation related to that, because I do think that'd be a beneficial conversation to have with this commission. Okay,
I appreciate that. And then not knowing from last time, is time of the essence here? Have they asserted that, I assume the development group has asked the city for the turn lane, or
correct, that's been approved through our plan review process.
Okay, well, Mr. Chair, I think I'm just, I may just abstain or no vote on this one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you know what's going in there? Just curious.
Do we have a representative from? Yeah.
Yeah. Give us your name, please.
My name's Tyler Fosness. I'm with KCI Technologies. We did the traffic impact study for this development. So when we did this we did the study originally in 2017, and then we updated it a couple more times in 2018 and 2019. So I have the 2019 version here. And at that time, it was planned to be 216,000 square feet of general office with some mixed-use restaurant space, as well as like a coffee shop and some retail space.
And there's parking provided in a garage.
Yes, I believe they're planned to park to code, as far as I know.
Okay.
You say 260,000?
216,000.
So maybe it's a possibility to defer this for a month and get Councilwoman's questions answered on the next meeting. Is that possible, or would that work?
From the staff perspective, I don't know of a pressing timeline. I don't know.
I'm not positive as far as the development plans on, I know they want to get it done as soon as possible, but that's about all I know as far as deadlines for them.
I would say, though, converting meters to a turn lane, very easy process, would probably come at the end of construction, and we really haven't broken ground out there yet. So deferring one meeting should not be an issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Hattery, you want to read these next two together, then the letter that we have?
Sorry, excuse me. You need to,
I'll make a motion to defer that letter A until for one meeting.
Second, thank you.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed? None.
Mr. Chair,
Ma'am?
in the spirit of that deferral motion, may I just ask that we can actually see the traffic impact study? I understand that. That's responsive to the question for the purpose of the deferral, but I am interested to know, aside from that, just generally, when we receive our agenda and make that decision, have we gotten supporting information as a commission? Do we get the traffic impact study, or? Apologize if I missed that.
Generally, we have in the past, they'll bring in the numbers, for instance, any intersection where they're wanting to add stop signs or take stop signs away, they'll bring those impact studies to us.
Okay.
With the next agenda, which will come out 2 weeks in advance of the next meeting, we can include the traffic impact study.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, did you say next meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right. All in favor of deferring A for one meeting, say aye. Opposed? None. Sir, appreciate you coming. See you next month. Mr. Hatter, you want to do B and C together, or you want to read them separate, then the change?
I believe we can do them together. They're related, and if you
Okay.
want to read the items, I will share the communication.
Okay.
that I
let's
have
do
with the
them
company and
separately
council
so we
members.
can make separate motions on each, please. Just cleaner that way.
Do them separate?
Yeah,
All right.
please.
Deferred business, B, installation of a loading zone authorized 50-foot, 24-hour loading zone on Chestnut Street, 300 feet west of 4th Avenue South, requested by Barge Coffin, Council District 17. C, installation of a loading zone authorized 80. Well, I was going to do that with this letter. Yeah. On B, C, installation of a loading zone authorized 80 feet, 24-hour loading zone on 4th Avenue South, 70 feet south of Chestnut Street, requested by Barge Kaufman, Council District 17. Now, we have a letter here making some changes on this. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we received a letter in the past week that was not in your original packet. It was in the handouts here from the developer out there, AJ Capital. As you may remember, Councilmember Sledge asked for this to be deferred 1 month at last month's meeting to allow for more conversation with the developer. What they've agreed on is instead of loading 24 hours, to restrict loading from 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m., but allow it for all other times.
Would we have to file a motion to, if we want to consider this change of time, would we have to file a motion to correct deferred business B?
Yeah, the person who makes the motion should make the motion accordingly. So if you want to incorporate that letter, then your motion for B would be to incorporate those times, and then you would go forward with that. And then if you want to make a motion for C, you would move to amend C to incorporate those times, and then you would vote on that. Does that make sense? Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes, sir.
Is this work already complete?
So there have been parking cutouts constructed into the sidewalk here. That is complete, but signage has not yet been erected.
Is that okay with you, Brandon? Sure. Okay. Any other questions? All right. B and C, all in favor say aye, subject to the letter that we have here with some of the changes. All in favor say aye. Ma'am? Oh, I thought.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it would be better if you, sorry, I don't mean to be picky. If you move to amend B and C by incorporating the times, and then you vote on B and C separately, it just makes it cleaner for the minutes.
All right, vote on them separate.
Yeah, first, someone can make a motion for me, please, to incorporate these new times for both B and C, and then you can vote on B and C separately to approve or not, or,
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend B to include the times of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Second.
That's the change that we have. That's good. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you.
And in reference to letter C, I'll make the motion to approve with the amended times, again, of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. That completes our agenda. Faye,
no, wait, now you
I
have,
apologize. Did you want to say something? Excuse me. On what? On all of them?
Yes, sir.
Well, we, on
B and C.
B and C, I thought we just did.
Now we need to approve them.
All right.
Voted on the
We,
amendment, not as amended.
we voted on the amendments and the changes of it.
right, you voted to amend both of them.
All right, all right,
I know,
all right,
it's not me.
okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
There you go, thank you.
Second.
Second, have a first and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, none.
And I will move that we approve,
C,
As amended.
as amended.
Somebody else second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. I apologize.
I appreciate you giving me just a minute. I really wasn't planning to talk, but I think there's a couple of really exciting things going on, and I want to be sure to keep you all up to date.
Now, whoop. It's on now? Excellent.
Wait a minute, Faye. In case some of you don't know, this is Faye. She is with the mayor's office, Transportation and Infrastructure Department up there. I'm sorry, I would have let you talk first, but
No, not at all.
we just wanted to keep you here is what it was.
No, not at all.
All
No,
right.
I also have had the great privilege over the last several months of serving as interim director of the brand-new Metro Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure. And we are We have a lot of, I think, very exciting things going on there, and you are going to start seeing the kind of progress and the kind of performance. I know we have a great department, but we can be an even greater department. And so there's going to be a lot forthcoming that I believe you'll find exciting and good stuff. I want to recognize Derek Haggerty. I believe today is your last time with us, last meeting with us. Derek is going on a new private sector career adventure. Way too much fun. So we will miss him, but we're very excited. Jeff Hammond is here today. Jeff is going to be assuming temporarily the responsibilities of leadership here at the Traffic and Parking Commission until and unless, I think Brad Freeze, who is our new chief engineer, there are two major positions, leadership positions that we're recruiting for, chief engineer. We pulled off a real coup and secured the state traffic engineer from TDOT to come on board with the new NDOT, and we're very excited. And Brad is so highly regarded, especially in the traffic engineering world. So he will also be an active partner with you all on all things moving forward. And he comes on board November 1. We had actually finalist candidates in this past week for the director position. I keep trying to tell folks I'm working myself right out of a job. And so hopefully you will see that new leadership coming on board here in the next few months. But lots of exciting times. One thing in particular that I just wanted to comment on today, because I know it's something that's gotten some questions and comments in the past, and we've been working with Chairman Green on this, is the conversation around traffic calming and traffic control devices. And I wanted to be sure that we were very clear. We've tried to be, but I also know that stop signs in communities and neighborhoods are one of those things people want them, and so we react from a very community-based perspective about those things. We are working very hard to utilize the engineering standards that Derek and his colleagues use to analyze whether those things, what's called meet warrants. If they don't meet warrants, either a traffic signal or a traffic stop sign, and both of those things are considered traffic control devices. Stop signs are not traffic calming, they're traffic control devices. Then what we've asked for and worked with the Traffic and Parking Commission on is if there's a time we know that you can overturn those recommendations that we may make. And so what we've asked is that you give us a 1-month deferral to work very directly with that community, because what we want to do is hear what is the problem, and if you can tell us what the problem is, then we're going to bring sort of a SWAT team approach to bear to figure out what are the best solutions for that problem. Because what we know is in studies across the country that when we install signals and traffic signs that don't meet warrants, it oftentimes has unintended consequences, not only in terms of the traffic behavior. It oftentimes doesn't reduce speeding, but actually increases speeding, increases rear-end accidents and so forth, those kinds of things. It doesn't solve the problem that the community wanted us to solve to begin with, and we want to do that, and we're deeply committed to it. The other thing, too, is it can also create liabilities for us when we install things that don't meet warrants and something happens there. Then we're on the hook from a liability perspective. We want to be sure that we're thinking through all those things carefully. And we also, though, want to make sure that we're listening to the community. So I don't want anybody to misconstrue any of our, really trying to bring order to our system of how we do this as no longer listening to the community. In fact, we're listening closer in some ways, because we want to be sure we're bringing real solutions. So I thank you all for your support on some of these sort of business practice modernization that we're bringing to NDOT, and tell you how forward we look to working with you, both from the mayor's office when I get to go back, and also from NDOT. This is, the future of Nashville is just right in front of us, and it's remarkable what's happening, the growth and the activity and so forth. I also heard a very sobering presentation this morning on our Vision Zero effort. And we are 60, I'm going to make sure I get this right, our traffic related fatalities are 67% higher per 100,000 residents than Charlotte, Austin, and Denver. And that's something to be, very concerned about. I hope I quoted that correctly. But we'll be also bringing forward recommendations to this group on things that we can do to help curb that, to improve that. And it'll be a whole range of different things, because some of this is human behavior, and that's the hardest thing to change, and some of it is what we can do from an engineering and a traffic management and all those kinds of things. And we're gonna bring all the tools to the toolkit that we possibly can. So I'm really excited to work with you all, very excited to for Councilmember Henderson to bring her energy to this group, and look forward to answering any questions. And I'm glad to try to answer any questions you may have today. If you want to give me something off the cuff, I'm glad to wing it.
Commissioners, anyone have any questions? Councilmember?
Thank you, Mr. Massimo. Also, too, from the council side, that's going to be quite a loss for our department, Mr. Hegarty. So we are sad to see you go. And I think, what Mr. Massimo is speaking to is somewhat of a transition time when, and Mr. Hegarty was so important for that, where the traffic calming program, as previously administered, was not particularly effective, in my view, and I think quite a few members of council. So I'm so glad to see the improvements to that process and really to the menu. So I think sometimes what you're seeing in communities requesting, Mr. Massimo, these stop signs is sort of this latent demand or feeling that the traffic calming program, again, not under Mr. Hegarty's leadership or as of late, but 3-4 years ago, was less effective, and the menu was so limited. And so to your point, I think that deferral is important because you're trying to respond to what the community perceives to be the problem, which is often we can't cross the road here or so forth. I did go back and watch the stop sign warrants presentation of last meeting, and you had shared, I guess, a similar slide deck with council. So I wanted to ask, I think Mr. Hegarty said in that presentation, he anticipated in spring of next year, the MUTCD, right, has had a very vast public engagement process. I think, it's last updated, I can't recall, maybe over a decade ago. Mm-hmm. Right, and so in the meantime, right, the 85% rule, there's got to be 5 crashes at this stop. Do we anticipate, I don't know if there's any kind of foresight, but I would imagine some of the kind of the thresholds and the warrants and the things like that are going to change. And, what from your perspective does that kind of mean for traffic calming? And then also too, with the loss of Mr. Hegarty, I know on the council side, we had asked you all when, in adding the 42 positions to NDOT, we felt very strongly that making that traffic calming program more robust. So, we added Mr. Hegarty. I know you've added one more person. Now we're back down to one person. So can you just sort of speak to that traffic calming space from a staffing standpoint, and then the MUTCD update?
Sure. There were a lot of questions in there, and I'm going to try to remember to unpack them all. So first, I want to reiterate one thing. So stop signs are not traffic calming. Stop signs are traffic control, just like a traffic signal is. They actually are responsible for the orderly procession of all kinds of traffic, whether it's people on feet, people on scooters, people on bikes, people in cars, transit buses, whatever it might be, right? So, on the traffic control side, traffic operations covers both traffic calming and traffic operations. In terms of the staffing, and with Mr. Hegarty leaving, we will be replacing that position, but in addition, we are interviewing this week in our finalist candidates for a dedicated safety engineer, which is one of the things that we had committed to council member in those 42 positions. So there will actually be one up by the time we're done with filling these positions. In terms of the MUTCD and what's happening at the national level, there has been the ongoing conversation around many of the different ways that we measure transportation performance. We've been doing it kind of the same way since the interstate system was built, frankly. And our tools in the industry have a long way to go to catch up with, especially right now, there's like an explosion of innovation in the market. And it really started happening when we started changing around, when we started having ride share that really just kind of took off with Uber and Lyft. Who even thought we would be doing that just, not that many years ago? There's been so many changes to technology, and MUTCD and AASHTO and the folks who are responsible for those professional standards have really brought in a lot of folks. In fact, TDOT, there's been some TDOT leadership personnel that have been very directly involved in helping to shape that. And you may also be aware that the way the MUTCD works in Tennessee and in many states is the state of Tennessee is codified in state law. An MUTCD, it mirrors the federal, but it includes what's in the federal, but may also include more. Some states do more and so forth. So we have a Tennessee MUTCD too. I would suspect that that TDOT will look to mirror whatever those federal changes are when they come out, and I do expect there to be changes. There's just been too much interest and activity and focus and input and everything around that. We're dealing with a brave new world of transportation and how we effectively do all that. We've got to also have standards that are modernized to keep up with what's going on in our system as well. Guys, do you have anything else you would add to that from our team?
Yeah, I just want to say on the MUTCD specifics, we do know that the warrants are going to be updated. There is a draft version that was released about 6 months ago. Though, like Mr. Massimo said, those are still up for debate. So we know they're going to change. We don't know by how much or to what just yet. But as soon as it does, not only does the state of Tennessee adopt the MUTCD, we have to follow the most updated version by Metro Code. So once that goes into effect, that's what our staff will adjust to.
And I do think, though, Councilmember, I think you're going to see some change because like I said, the whole notion of mobility in America has changed, and so there's just been too much spotlight and interest in that. And in the draft that he mentioned, there's a lot of things in there that are different. It's just there's still a real conversation going on around it. I wouldn't want to predict at this point.
Right. Sarah Lee?
Thank you very much for sharing the information. We look forward to it. We've been very fortunate to have people like Derek staffing us and to have Officer Gilliland on the commission and provide insight. And thank you for loaning us Jeff again for a little while. It's great. We get a lot of requests because people are excited about the growth in the whole county, but they can't control the pedestrian safety in their neighborhoods. So I'm really happy that you all are getting more staff to help address that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Two other quick things I just thought of while you were talking. There's so many things going on that I forget to mention some of them, but two that I think you'll be interested in, I'm going to throw out there really quickly. Smart parking is moving through the remaining phases in the procurement process. So just know that you will be seeing something around that before, let's see, we're in October, before the end of the year. And so that'll be exciting around those downtown 1,700 metered spaces that we have right now. And then the Downtown Neighborhood Traffic Project, which is the partnership we have with TDOT, the Downtown Partnership, and WeGo, to look at how we manage transit prioritization, curbside infrastructure management, and traffic management, specifically in the area inside the inner loop. We just finalized the procurement process on that. That one is actually running through WeGo because the transit prioritization piece is such a strong component of it. And we will be co-managing that out of NDOT with WeGo. And that will be moving forward within the next month. So there's going to be a lot of really exciting activities going on that you all will have a front row seat to.
I hope you get support from the state about all the transportation party automobiles downtown to work with us on that.
Indeed. Indeed.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Faye, thank you. Mr. Haverty, good luck on your endeavor, or new endeavor.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in, we got a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right. Good meeting. Good meeting.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org. metro.gov.